The House of Windsor, a dynasty built on tradition, duty, and the carefully constructed illusion of unity. But behind the gilded gates of Buckingham Palace, a silent war was brewing. A war not of nations, but of wills. A war for the very soul of the monarchy. And at its heart, a bitter betrayal that threatened to tear the royal family apart. It began innocently enough on a summer day in London, June 2025. The Trooping the Color ceremony, a spectacle of pomp and pageantry, unfolded beneath a flawless sky. King Charles III, his health visibly weakened after years battling cancer, stood tall in his scarlet uniform, a stoic figure of endurance. Beside him, Queen Camilla, the woman once vilified as the other woman, now reigned supreme, though the scars of public scorn still lingered. But it was the subtle choreography of the royal family on the Buckingham Palace balcony that truly spoke volumes. Prince William, the heir apparent, maintained a deliberate distance from Camilla, his gaze fixed on his father and the fluttering Union Jacks, pointedly ignoring the Queen. No nod, no smile, a silent act of defiance that echoed years of resentment. A resentment born from the loss of his mother Diana and the deep-seated belief that Camilla had once again betrayed the soul of the monarchy. A photograph, captured by a sharp-eyed reporter, detonated across headlines. The image: William's cold detachment, Camilla's forced smile, a chasm widening between them for the world to see. In that instant, the invisible line between rivalry and war was crossed. Camilla, humiliated before Charles and the world, vowed revenge. What the cameras couldn't capture was the plan already taking shape in Camilla's mind. A strategy to erode William's reputation, to paint him as rash and immature, and to cast herself as this stabilizing force beside a frail and ailing king. The palace, once a symbol of stability, was about to become a battlefield of whispers and smiles, each side preparing to strike. Just days after Trooping the Color, Camilla summoned a most unlikely ally: Prince Andrew. Stripped of his titles and exiled to Royal Lodge after the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, Andrew was a pariah, consumed by bitterness and a desperate hunger to reclaim his lost status. Clarence House, Camilla's residence, became the clandestine meeting place, a space where schemes were hatched in the shadows. Camilla, ever the master strategist, knew that Andrew's desperation made him the perfect pawn. She offered him a chance to step back into the light, a carefully crafted narrative of forgiveness and reintegration. The real goal, however, was far more sinister: to provoke William, to force him into a sharp reaction that could be weaponized against him. We'll frame this as forgiveness and reintegration, a touching narrative for the public, Camilla purred, her voice honeyed but cunning. You'll show up at a major charity event, make a contrite appearance, wave to supporters, display remorse. But the deeper goal is to needle William, force him into a sharp reaction. When he responds, we will paint him as rash and immature, an unstable heir. Andrew, tempted by the promise of redemption, agreed to Camilla's dark bargain. He would become the sacrificial lamb, the catalyst for William's downfall. In return, Camilla promised flattering coverage, a revamped image, and a chance to reclaim his place within the royal fold. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the curtain was about to rise on a drama that would shake the House of Windsor to its very foundations. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, William luxuriated in a rare moment of domestic calm with Kate and the children. But the tranquility was short-lived. News arrived: Prince Andrew, under Queen Camilla's patronage, was set to resurface. William's reaction was volcanic. Fury flooded his face. "What is she playing at?" he demanded, his voice tight with anger. "She's dragging mud onto the crown, undermining everything we've built." Kate, ever the voice of reason, urged caution. "Be careful, William," she warned, her voice laced with worry. "This could be a trap, a provocation designed to bait you, then weaponize your response." But William, haunted by the memory of his mother and the injustices she suffered, found it difficult to restrain his emotion. Back in her private room, Camilla allowed herself a self-satisfied smile. "The pawn has been resurrected," she murmured inwardly. "Now we wait for William to bite, and then the scheme will detonate." London, June 2025. Golden sunlight streamed through the city as the elite gathered for a charity gala supporting impoverished children. But the whispers weren't about compassion. All eyes were on the shocking return of Prince Andrew. For the first time in years, the disgraced Duke stepped back into the spotlight, his reappearance quietly endorsed by Queen Camilla. Dressed in a sharp gray suit, he greeted the cameras with a strained smile, a mask attempting to conceal the ghosts of scandal. Flashbulbs ignited. Headlines spread worldwide. Prince Andrew returned, symbol of royal forgiveness. To the naive, it seemed a redemptive act. But to those who understood the game behind the gilded walls, it was a dangerous gamble. Far away in Balmoral Castle, William's phone vibrated. "Your Highness, Prince Andrew just appeared at the London Charity Gala. The Queen is behind it." William's blood ran hot. He slammed his fist on the table, the sound echoing in the quiet room. "What kind of mockery is this?" he seethed. "Why bring him back now? She's dragging the whole family through the mud again." An emergency meeting was arranged at Sandringham. Inside the drawing room, the air was taut. King Charles, looking frail, sat at the head of the table. Camilla was notably absent. William wasted no time on pleasantries. "Father, how could you allow this?" he demanded. "Andrew's scandal disgraced the crown for years. Now she parades him before the cameras. For what? Another illusion of mercy?" Charles avoided his son's gaze. "Your stepmother believes this is a gesture of reconciliation," he said, his voice low and tired. "The family needs unity, William. The public must see forgiveness, not fracture." William rose, his chair scraping against the floor. "Reconciliation," he snapped, "or humiliation disguised as virtue. She's not healing the family. She's using Andrew to test me, to make me look unfit to inherit what's mine." Back at Clarence House, Camilla spoke to an editor at the Sunday, but "Run it as tension," she instructed, her voice honeyed but precise. "William jealous of his uncle's return. Say it's about image rivalry for public affection." Within hours, tabloids screamed, "Prince William furious with Prince Andrew. A royal feud ignites." The story detonated across social media. Supporters defended William, but louder voices condemned him. "So petty. No grace. Is this our future king?" William scrolled through the comments, each one a knife twisting in his gut. "She's turning me into a villain," he muttered. Later that night, William stared at his reflection, his eyes shadowed. "I won't let her destroy me," he vowed. Yet outside his chamber, the machinery of deceit hummed on. The stains spread faster than truth, and the monarchy sank deeper into a war of shadows. Just days after Andrew's public reappearance, a digital detonation rocked the nation. An internal royal letter mysteriously leaked online and spread with unstoppable speed. It was a confidential document William wrote 2 years earlier, urging the permanent exclusion of Prince Andrew from all state ceremonies to preserve the monarchy's integrity. Within hours, headlines exploded. "William seeks to banish his uncle, the heir's ruthless power grab." From The Guardian to The Mirror, commentators dissected every word, portraying William not as a principled reformer, but as a cold tactician willing to sacrifice family for control. The story ignited a national firestorm, the heir apparent cast as both villain and victim. At Clarence House, Camilla watched the chaos unfold on her tablet, a faint smile playing on her lips. She issued no statement, letting the storm rage freely while she donned the cloak of moral grace. At a small charity gathering in London, cameras captured her gentle smile as she told reporters, her voice tender as silk. "The royal family has always believed in reconciliation. Forgiveness binds us together." Her words dripped like honey, but beneath their sweetness hid a sharpened edge. The public, once divided, began to shift, admiring her as a steady, forgiving queen, in contrast to the unyielding heir. Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, the atmosphere was suffocating. "She's painting you as a tyrant," Kate whispered, her eyes brimming with tears, while she plays the saint hiding behind false compassion. "I see it now, Kate," William said, his voice thick with pain. "If I lash out, I only prove her point that I'm emotional, unstable, unfit to lead." The nation fractured. Polls revealed a stunning divide. 45% of Britons now sided with Camilla, calling her the voice of unity. Social media overflowed with posts branding William rigid and unforgiving. Each comment chipped away at his public standing, leaving him increasingly alone, like a soldier abandoned on the battlefield. Yet William refused to break. He chose silence, not surrender. "Timing is everything," he murmured. "Emotion is her weapon. Mine will be patience." The next morning, the Express unleashed another blow. "Jealous prince. William feels threatened by Andrew's redemption." William slammed the table, fury surging through his veins. "It's her again," he roared. "She's destroying everything we've worked for." Kate rushed forward, gripping his hand. "It's bait, William. Don't give her what she wants. We'll find another way. We'll turn this against her." Breathing hard, William forced himself to stillness. He was beginning to understand the game. This was not a war of swords, but of perception. Every headline, every pause, every word was a move on the chessboard. And from this moment on, he vowed to play by her rules, but win by his own. A crisp morning at St. James's Palace, June 25th, 2025. The ancient corridors resounded with the hurried steps of courtiers. Prince William was making final plans for his trip to Canada, a diplomatic mission meant to reinforce ties with the Commonwealth. The small conference room, usually hosting calm strategy sessions, was about to become the scene of a shocking revelation. William arrived early, seeking a few private moments to collect his thoughts amid the fallout from Andrew's comeback and the smear campaigns aimed at him. The door shut behind him and the room fell quiet. Then, from a side door, muffled voices drifted through. A deep, irritated male tone cut clear. It was Prince Andrew's voice, unmistakable. "I did exactly as she said," Andrew said, low but audible. "I showed up at the charity event. I smiled, waved, displayed remorse as instructed. But if William keeps excluding me, the promise to restore my standing will mean nothing." A brief pause. "I don't care any longer about provoking William, but if she plans to damage his reputation this way, don't drag me into it deeper. I won't shoulder the media fallout if this smear backfires on me." At the threshold, William froze, the folders in his hand crumpling as his grip tightened. A smear campaign, he thought, stunned and furious. Suddenly, everything snapped into focus. What he had suspected now became undeniable. Camilla didn't simply orchestrate Andrew's return. She was using him as bait. Even without a recording, the overheard exchange was proof enough. The entire operation was directed from Clarence's house. William did not storm in or make a scene. He remained still, letting the words sink in, a storm of emotions rising within him. Quietly, he left the room, his mind already mapping countermeasures. That evening at Kensington Palace, under warm lamplight and among family portraits, William told Kate everything. They sat in their private living room. Kate held a steaming cup, her eyes wide with shock. "I found it out, Kate," William said, voice low and shaking as he recounted the conversation. "She's weaponizing an exile like Andrew, not to heal the family, but to bait me, force a reaction, and then smear me publicly." Kate listened, tears slipping down her face, voice choked. "Oh, William, if you'd lashed out at Andrew in public that day, the press and people would have branded you selfish, uncontrollable, unfit to be king. She's merciless. She embraces him, feeling his heartbeat, a small refuge in the gale." Later, alone in the royal library among towering shelves filled with books that hold centuries of the monarchy's story, William stares at a portrait of his mother, Diana, her smile and eyes seeming to watch him from above. "Mother," he whispers, voice breaking as rare tears fall down the face of this usually composed man. "If she aims to strip me of public trust, I will force her from power before she can succeed." Fury at the desecration of his mother's legacy, grief over a family unraveling, and a burning determination surged through him. This is the pivot point, the moment William changes from a passive target to an active combatant, prepared to overturn the board in a merciless struggle. After overhearing Andrew's incriminating conversation, Prince William decides the waiting game is over. He knows with absolute clarity that the moment to strike has arrived. He cannot allow Camilla's maneuvering to keep spreading like a malignant growth at the very core of the monarchy. With unshakable resolve, William formally petitions for the Royal Council to be convened, an old constitutional instrument almost never used since the era of Queen Victoria, designed to review the conduct and integrity of senior royals when the institution itself is at risk. It is a daring, explosive move, like lighting a fuse inside the palace, one that forces everyone to confront the truth they've been silently sidestepping. This is not a public trial, but the council made up of seasoned courtiers, aristocrats, and legal minds holds the power to issue binding judgments that can alter the balance of power. William understands the stakes. If he fails, he will be branded the troublemaker prince. If he succeeds, he restores honor for himself and for Princess Diana's memory. On July 1st, 2025 at St. James's Palace, the old building with cold marble corridors and centuries of royal weight, the great meeting chamber sits in a suffocating stillness like a dormant tribunal called back to life. Weak daylight seeps through the tall windows, washing over stone walls and a long table draped in red silk, flanked by high-back leather chairs in perfect symmetry. The air is so tense it seems to hum. King Charles III sits at the center, his complexion pale from recent chemotherapy, his spirit torn between loyalties. He wears a dark gray suit, his hands faintly shaking on the tabletop, his eyes downcast, as if trying to preside over a conflict he never wanted to erupt. On his right, Queen Camilla sits in an elegant blue dress, makeup carefully masking the fatigue and tension, but her eyes gleam with alert defensiveness, the look of someone backed into a corner. On his left stands William, tall, severe in a black suit, his gaze fixed not on his father or stepmother, but on the council, the veteran retainers of Queen Elizabeth II's era, faces carved by decades of palace crisis. 8 members make up the council, seated along both sides of the table, each representing a pillar of the monarchy. Law, tradition, nobility, discretion, no cameras, no public gallery, only the bare truth locked inside 4 walls. William steadies himself, his heartbeat loud in his chest. He knows he lacks what the press would call hard evidence. No audio files, no leaked emails, no signed directives, but he doesn't need them. He will rely on the visible sequence of events, on the logic the whole nation has already witnessed, and on the credibility of a prince standing unshaken. He rises, his voice firm and clear, cutting through the room. Members of the council, Your Majesty, Father, I am not here to accuse on the basis of recordings or papers. I am here to lay out what the country itself has watched unfold. A seamlessly coordinated media operation, but driven by the wrong purpose and targeting the wrong person. He then lays out the entire chain step by step, his tone controlled, but gradually burning with feeling. He begins with trooping the color, the moment his refusal to acknowledge Camilla lit the fuse of her anger. Then comes Andrew's sudden return, not as a genuine act of mercy, but as bait, a discarded royal brought back solely to trigger him. William recounts in detail the conversation he overheard at Street, James's Andrew admitting clearly that there was a smear plan and how immediately afterward negative articles rolled out in perfect synchronicity with Camilla's sanctioning of Andrew's reappearance. I kept silent publicly, William says, his voice thick but composed, eyes bright though no tears fall. And yet I was still made the target of a deliberate media attack, and the person directing it all stands in full view beside my father, smiling to the crowds, all while manipulating events from behind the curtain. This is not about protecting the monarchy's image. This is about tearing down the air to soothe a wounded ego. If we allow this to go on, the crown will be emptied of its meaning, not by Republicans or foreign threats, but by betrayal from within. Camilla's composure falters beneath the polished veneer. Her hands curl into fists under the table, nails digging so deep into her palms they nearly draw blood. She rises, her smile taut, her voice dripping with the practiced sweetness of a woman who survived 1,000 public storms. I don't deny my actions, she begins, tone laced with defensive charm, but they were meant to prevent a greater crisis for the royal image. Prince William's rigidity, his impatience has confused the public. Restoring Andrew's visibility was a gesture of forgiveness, a core royal virtue. Her reasoning sounds measured, rehearsed, but before the echoes fade, William cuts in, his voice sharp as tempered steel. Confusion doesn't come from integrity, he snaps, eyes blazing. It comes from deception. A queen cannot wage war against the king's own son and call it duty. You didn't heal the family. You weaponized it. You used Andrew as bait, turned him into a pawn to wound me. And now the world sees the fracture you've sown. A wave of murmurs sweeps the table. The air tightens like a bowstring about to break. All eyes turn toward King Charles, the man at the center. Yet suddenly the smallest figure in the room, but he says nothing. His head bows, and in his silence there is only exhaustion. A father watching his family splinter beyond repair. The tension holds until a voice old and commanding pierces the stillness. Lord Harrington, the eldest council member, his hair white as parchment, leans forward. His words carry the weight of the late Queen Elizabeth's court. Your Majesty, he declares, this cannot be ignored. Public faith in the monarchy is crumbling. If we do nothing, the throne will soon stand empty, no matter who occupies it. We've endured scandals before, but none have cut this deep. The chamber trembles under those words. The council confers briefly, their whispered debate filled with resignation. Then the verdict falls, swift, historic, and irreversible. Queen Camilla is suspended indefinitely from organizing royal ceremonies or speaking publicly in any official capacity, effectively exiled into the background of palace life. Prince William is granted full authority over all royal engagements, both domestic and international, the duties of a monarch in everything but name. The decision detonates in silence. Charles does not intervene, does not cannot speak. His gaze meets Camilla's full of grief, apology, and helpless love. She stares straight ahead, her fingers trembling against the polished table. The queen who once pulled the strings now sits stripped of power, her crown dimmed in the eyes of the council. The defeat burns behind her eyes. Rage, humiliation, disbelief. No one leaves that chamber victorious, except perhaps William, who stands unbroken, though his heart feels the weight of the wreckage around him. He has won without evidence through sheer conviction, but at a cost no victory should demand. A fractured family, a devastated father, and a monarchy that must now rebuild from ruins. Within hours, secrecy dissolves. Somewhere between whispers and vengeance, the news leaks. A courtier with loose lips or a journalist too well connected. By dawn, headlines blaze across the front pages. Royal Council suspends Queen Camilla. Prince William seizes command after smear plot. The nation erupts. Social media becomes a battlefield of disbelief and outrage. Some call William reckless, a rebel prince risking the monarchy's unity. Others dismiss the reports as fabricated. But then, piece by piece, the puzzle aligns. Every coincidence, every headline, every public manipulation suddenly fits the pattern he described. As the story spreads, opinion begins to shift like a tide. BBC and YouGov polls show the turn in numbers. Camilla's approval plunges from 45% to 30%. William's trust rating soars to 65%. Comments flood in. He's defending royal honor like his mother once did. Camilla went too far. William is the future. In one brutal day, the narrative flips. The smear artist is unmasked. The supposed rigid prince becomes the people's champion, a symbol of integrity in a monarchy that has lost its moral compass. When William finally steps out of St. James's Palace, the sun is setting over London, gilding the old stone walls in crimson light. His posture is proud, his expression resolute. Yet behind his eyes lies the ache of what's been broken. This is not victory. It's the dawn of a new era, born from fire, shadow, and sacrifice. London awakens under a sky of gold and music. It is the United Kingdom's National Day, a festival of pride and memory, of parades winding through the ancient streets, of fireworks promised for nightfall. Yet this year, Parliament Square feels different. The celebration meant to reaffirm unity beneath the crown now carries the weight of rebirth. Upon the grand dais stands King Charles III, still regal in his scarlet military uniform, though thinner, paler, a monarch fighting both illness and time. But it is not Queen Camilla who stands beside him. That place, once hers by cunning and persistence, now belongs to Prince William, with Princess Kate at his side. Together, they embody what the public has longed for: integrity, dignity, and a promise of renewal. The crowd roars as the royal trio appears. Tens of thousands wave Union Jacks, their cheers echoing against Westminster's stone facades. Yet beneath the applause lies a single unspoken observation: Camilla's absence. It is no coincidence. It is consequence. The silent war has ended and honor has reclaimed its ground. William steps forward in a tailored black suit, his posture unyielding, his gaze sweeping over the sea of faces like a quiet vow. Kate, in a blue dress that mirrors the sky, stands close enough that their hands meet. A brief human gesture amid the pomp. Charles looks on, his faint smile touched by relief. The tension that once poisoned the family has finally broken. The people sense it. The chant rises. Prince William, Prince William. A sound less of adoration than of deliverance. Cameras flash, capturing history's turning point. Across the press galleries, headlines begin to take shape. William leads the royals. A new era dawns. When his turn to speak arrives, William approaches the podium. The microphone glints in the sun. His voice, calm and resonant, rolls through the square. Honor does not come from power, he begins, each word deliberate. It comes from standing for what is right, even when silence would be easier, even when pressure weighs heavy. We, the people of this nation, have endured and triumphed because of that strength. The strength of truth and loyalty to what is just. The square falls utterly still. Then applause swells like a breaking tide. Some in the crowd weep, not only for his words, but for the echo of a woman long gone, whose courage he carries in his bearing. For a moment, the shadow of Diana smiles across his face. Kate looks at him through tears of pride, her hand tightening in his, as if to anchor him in this victory that feels both personal and national. Far from the noise, at Sandringham Estate, peace masks exile. Camilla sits alone by a wide window, a cup of untouched tea cooling beside her. Gone are the jewels and formal gowns. She wears a plain dress, her hair loose. The council's ruling still hangs over her, suspended from all royal duties, stripped of the power she once wielded so artfully. "I tried to protect the throne," she murmurs, the words trembling between defiance and remorse. But beneath the whisper lies resignation. She keeps the title Queen Consort, yet its meaning is hollow, the title of a ruler who no longer rules. Newspapers phrase it politely. Queen Camilla rests at Sandringham. Everyone knows the truth. This is retreat, not rest. Prince Andrew too fades from sight. His last chapter written. The press that once trumpeted his return now forgets his name. He slips back into Royal Lodge, invisible, voiceless, erased from the public stage. His brief revival as Camilla's pawn becomes the final weight that buries him in silence. The nation moves on, uninterested in ghosts. Now the story belongs to William. Across the world, his image floods screens, not as the waiting heir, but as the man who defended the crown from within. Hashtags bloom like banners in digital air. Number William the King, number Nuer Rafferth the Royals. Commentators speak of his restraint, his moral clarity, of Kate's steadfast grace beside him, of King Charles's quiet pride as he watches his son carry the torch forward. But William himself does not revel in triumph. Later that night, alone beneath the palace balcony, he gazes toward the fireworks scattering across the Thames, the sound of a country reborn. In his mind, his mother's voice returns, gentle and steady. "Honor is the rarest crown, my son." He closes his eyes. Pride rises in him, yes, but it is tempered by grief, by the knowledge of what the fight has caused. Still, beneath it all burns an unyielding certainty. The monarchy has survived, not through deceit, but through truth. And as the cheers echo deep into the night, one truth stands unshaken. The age of shadows has ended. The age of integrity has begun. How do you feel about the internal betrayal in the royal family after following the entire story? And does it change your view of William? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen.